G'day guys, another week's passed in the crypto land, and here we are again for another weekly developer update. Once again, joining me is Arminio. How are you, mate?
It's a good week. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, things are a little bit quieter now. Things have died down in the overall sentiment in the industry, I dare say. And what are your thoughts on that?
It comes with the territory sometimes. When markets have a downturn, the excitement, the hype, kind of leaves. There's a saying in the traditional market where it's like, high tide kind of raises all boats, and then when it goes out, you see who's swimming naked.
Exactly.
I think we're approaching the swimming naked portion, which, we're fine with at Ergo. I think we have really solid foundations, and even though it's a quiet week, we have a lot going on. I would say probably one thing that people aren't tracking that really is a major upgrade to proof of work as a whole is mining via subpool. Creating multiple assets, paying out to miners. That's something that's never been done. The smart pool has never been done. At Ergo, we do have a lot of things that, we kind of were the innovator first to bring things to market, and we never get credit, but it doesn't matter. We're continuing to build, and I think that building on solid foundations over time is ultimately how you create systems that, number one, work well and deliver value to the right places.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a reflection of this weekly developer update as well. Like, you can see the amount that's going on behind the scenes. No one cares about the market, basically. It's just build. From the GetBlok perspective, those guys have had their hands pretty busy this week implementing the subpooling. So supposed to have a Dark Cave Miners this week, actually, but a couple of them are under the weather, so we'll postpone that a little bit. So obviously everything they're doing is taking their toll on their health a little, so hopefully everyone gets back up and running in quick time.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's important to emphasize, there's a lot of things in this industry that just sell what they don't have, right?
Yeah.
They sell goods they can't deliver. They market things that are completely, I don't want to say fairy tales, but there's some unicorn dust in some of what comes out from marketing stuff. And I really respect our community that we've always focused on what can we build rather than what can we sell. I think long term that is going to serve us very well.
Yeah, it's one of the first things that sort of drew me into Ergo, actually, is that sort of mindset. At the time, there was sort of a lack of wanting to tokenize different projects and all that sort of stuff. They were just worried about building and delivering tools for the community, it wasn't a cash grab, as you could see.
Yeah, there's enough of those out there.
Yeah, so another one we've got is ERP27's locked in into the latest node. So that was 4.0.31.
Yeah, that means that a mission shift is going to be permanently locked into the node from this point forward. I do know that Alex is still digging his way through PRs, and we probably have enough ammunition for shooting off a couple more, but that's locked in now. So miners ultimately voted, and that reemission is going to be underway, and let's see when it activates. I guess that's dependent on block time.
Yeah, looking at the ergo.watch emission schedule, they've updated that throughout the week, or that I've noticed anyway, and they've forecast it to be late June. June 21 is the date that kind of gets thrown around, but obviously block times can sort of speed up and slow down depending on difficulty and things.
Yeah, so it's hard to say until we get closer, but we'll know.
Yeah, for sure. All right, mate, well, let's jump in.
Sure.
So first up, we've got Luivatra. So Louis looks like he's had some time away visiting Disneyland in Paris. He's been finalising the staking contracts for paideia, which will be live soon, and then looking to dive headfirst into the DAO contracts for paideia. So that's keeping him busy at the moment.
That's great.
Yeah. So Satergo now, their full node wallet. They've just created a new Java library project called ErgoSock. And I think they delivered that one through the ErgoHack.
Yep.
We could possibly change the name on that one in the coming future. Then that is for P2P connection to the nodes without needing the HTTP API. So that's a new way to sort of do the P2P. That's a nice little sort of addition.
Yeah, that's a nice little tool. He actually submitted another project as well, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head right now.
Yep. What was that? I'd have to look back and go through that one. Yeah, he did deliver two. So they've also released the stable version, stable version 3 of Satergo's close to release. Just a couple of refinements on the new wallet format. So hopefully people sort of dive into that one a little bit more and get a full node running with the security, with a full wallet node with the security of a full node.
Yeah, that's definitely a step in the right direction. The sync is still a little painful, but I do think that, this year at least we'll, get more of the rapid sync together. And at that point, I do think running a full node just makes more sense.
Yeah, have that extra security, but then also benefits the overall network as well.
Yeah, and there have been proposals anyway in terms of potentially finding ways to incentivize it. Whether that's directly or through people running ancillary services on top of a node. I personally, I think it'd be fun to, probably gamify it a little bit, create like a lottery function or something like that. And on top of that versus something more stable, but we'll see. It's definitely something that I think is worth looking into long term. Creating an incentive to run a node. I don't think people should, retire because they ran a full node, but in terms of some mechanism of reward, that'd be interesting.
Sure. And it allows, like you said, running a little bit of extra infrastructure as well, like off-chain bots and the mixer, things like that, oracles.
Yeah, naturally, that fits really well on top of the extended UTXO model, just because you move from off-chain to on-chain. And then, if you want to distribute trust, you need actors. So I do think that long-term, as the ecosystem grows, that will be an area that develops.
Yeah, it's one to watch. Pretty exciting. Next up, we've got Cheese Enthusiast with the GetBlok update. You want to take that one?
Sure. Looks like they are, I believe they pushed their subpooling this week. It was actually Comet. That was the first pool that came out.
Yep.
So miners get some sort of Comet reward and Erg reward. I haven't connected to, but I will. Also looks like they're working again on Plasma, looking at the on and off chain interactions and testing out different contracts to interact with ABL trees. And it looks like they're going to include an ABL tree holding digest for other trees. That's pretty interesting. Very curious to see how that comes out.
Yeah, and we've touched on this last week as well. The first L2 solution is coming from a mining pool. Who would have thought?
Yeah, that's pretty wild. But ultimately, I think as a proof of work network, it does make a tremendous amount of sense.
Yep, so moving on, we've got MrStahlfelge. I feel like I'm getting better. So he's his first, on the wallet app, he's got 1.1, was not released to all users because had a little hiccup with the ErgoDex price API. He's implemented a fix on that one, and it should be released it was reviewed, and then the release will be out to the beta channels shortly. and then continuing to work on his wallet app plugin system. So he's got the core system and a desktop debugger running, integrating the system into the Android wallet app, so developers can build from the Mosaic branch, and then also wrote a Kotlin DSL for implementing apps, so no one has to tinker with JSON. So he's been playing with that one for a little while now.
Yeah, that's going to be a nice improvement. It's going to be a nice tool for devs, most importantly.
You'll have to check out that Mosaic branch and see what's going on in there. On to Glasgow. You want to take Glasgow?
Sure. Basically, Glasgow's been putting together documentation for the hackathon. Maybe we should take that link and put it under the video, because we are, kind of just reached the end of it. Yep. Now, one thing that's true is we had 17 odd projects submit, different builds, different documentation. So for the judges, there's a lot to go through. I'm going to estimate 10 days, considering that a lot of them are already, working on other things, and that's kind of like an added time expenditure for them. But yep. I would say in 10 days, we'll probably have a good idea. I did encourage the team this morning to at least send out the base rewards for people that participated. And then hopefully once we get the actual results, we'll announce them. And then the reality is there's a bunch of good projects. I've already dug through some of them, and it's a hard thing to judge. It's a wide field and a lot of useful tools. I'm really just proud watching the community build. It's amazing. Yeah,
definitely. It's like the largest hackathon yet, and it is such a diverse sort of group of projects that have been put forward. I, for one, I'm pretty glad that I'm not a judge, because how do you sort of differentiate one from the other, and the value that one brings and one that doesn't, or potentially brings? There's a lot of considerations to sort of think about. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one for you guys.
Yeah, it's hard though. It's hard to predict outcomes and what becomes popular and what gets adopted and what gains kind of market traction. The reality is, I think, is the foundation. We really try to be neutral, support everybody, just encourage principled development, open source code, community review, and let the market figure that out, because collectively users know what they want better than we do. So in terms of the hackathon, it's always kind of a challenge to say, okay, you have a lot of interesting stuff that's developing, and the reality is picking just one is difficult.
Yeah, and there's actually been another edition of $1,000 for 1,000 SIG USD, from the Dark Fund. So that's going towards someone who was that determined by a collective from the Dark Fund or someone else?
Yep, that was the Dark Fund. So they're going to pick their own winner. I believe Dan is going to pick his own winner. I'm going to do the same. I'll match what I did last hackathon. I'm always happy to support our community developers.
Yep, and we've also had the raffle funded as well, so that'll be an extra little addition for the prize pool. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. We don't have the heftiest prize. There are some hackathons in this space that will throw out, I'm just going to say, ungodly amounts of money to attract developers. And part of the beauty of Ergo is we already have really solid people in our ecosystem that are, building things that, in my opinion, are pretty foundational. That, long term will develop, and other things will be built on top of them, because, you got open source, you got documentation, and then ultimately, it's like one row of bricks supports the next,
Yeah. Slowly but surely we'll build there.
Yep.
So in addition to that, he's also transferring the website to or creating a Git for the website, so then people can do PRs and then also do translations. So that's a big one as well.
Yeah. And also working with the Ledger team to get the app supported by Ledger Live. I believe they've already heard back from them, so that's already in motion, but I'm not directly involved there, so it's hard for me to give any like clear insight.
Soon, we'll just continue to say
yeah,
soon.
you know, I wish I could do better, but sorry guys.
All right, so moving on. We've got Morphic once again with his multitude of 5.0 PRs.
Yeah. He's upgrading the Sigma dependencies towards Scala 2.13 is going to be pretty nice to see. Looks like he's reviewing other PRs. I know now that Alex has got EIP 27 behind him. 5.0 is going to be probably our big next vote in terms of a network upgrade. At this point, you know, it's stable code is what matters. And so going through things, ironing everything out, double checking, getting it properly tested is where we're at. That's a process. We'll probably be there for, I don't know, a month, maybe two.
Yeah.
Looks like he's also did a security audit on the new wallet app that MrStahlfelge released. And looks like he started to work on Scala 3 DSL for, I can't read that.
For the mosaic, I dare say, is that the same as what MrStahlfelge was just mentioning?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. It's a little blurry on my screen. I'm looking at the video coming through. Also, next up, we're going to test the full node sync with Sigma 5. That's going to be probably part of the initial testing. Then finish the Sigma cross compilation with Scala 2.13. So we're getting support for a newer code base update.
So what does Scala 3 bring to the table that 2.3 or 2.xx doesn't bring? Do you know anything in regards to that?
That's not really my area. I imagine there's some new features, perhaps, and some new syntax changes. I'm not sure.
Moving on, we've got Kushti. So we touched on this a little bit at the start with the ERP 27.
Yep. So that's locked in as of our new node candidate with unconditional EIP 27 support activation. It looks like they have also added a burn mechanism for exchanges. That's something that periodically I hear about, where users send tokens that are unsupported into exchange wallets. And what happens is they get stuck in the exchange mempool. And then it starts to kind of create a certain bottleneck in terms of deposits. And then I hear about it from the exchange. And then the exchange shuts down to do some maintenance and, you know, remove some garbage from their mempool. And then I hear from the users. So it's best to make sure that you don't send tokens that are unsupported to an exchange, because at this point they'll get burnt. And there are tokens in our ecosystem, depending on which exchange you send to, that have value within the ecosystem on a DEX. And yeah, you don't want to burn your money. Be careful where you send it.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is continue with our noodle attacks.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it affects everyone, and the last thing you want to do as well is have your ability to be able to deposit on an exchange or withdraw from an exchange just because something like that's gone on.
Sure, and even you know, things that are just accidental, they tend to accumulate. Where you know, basically what happens is an exchange runs a scanner, and the scanner is not supporting seeing that asset. So, over time it can build up and create a problem. So it's good that they have tools to make sure that their setup functions properly for everybody, but user beware. Don't send your tokens to a place where they are not supported. You may never see them again.
Yeah, we don't have the send all button at the moment anyway, do we? So that one helps a little.
That helps a lot. Then it looks like he's also polished the EIP27 text and addressed some feedback that came up. He's redeploying the reemission contract in mainnet, test merging the path and reemission box spending in the test net. So things are getting essentially finalized in this update. Dexy is still in progress. They've made some simulations for the bank contracts and liquidity pools with some pretty aggressive assumptions. And they're working on an actual formal paper for Dexy. And there's a potential that Dexy itself will not be tied to a fiat currency. Personally, I'm a big advocate of something like gold. I think that would be much more interesting. Plus, it would potentially sidestep some liability issues that come from fiat-backed or fiat-pegged, excuse me. Yeah, fiat-pegged stablecoins where there's a little bit of uncertainty there. And the reality is, there's a lot of printing, and I guess now we're burning the quantitative tightening. We'll see what happens. But I think having, stable value in an over collateralized asset in crypto is going to be kind of some might even call it a holy grail, so to speak. I just think it's extremely useful to have hardened setups that try to deliver stability to people, because increasingly, stability is becoming something that's harder to find. Looks like he's also reviewing 5.0 PRs. So he's starting to work with Morphic in our next big update.
Then he just has the ERP27 PR listed there as well. Moving on, we've got LadoPixel. So he's finished his Swiss Army knife project. So it's an interesting little thing where he's adding some utility to a little Raspberry Pi Zero. So he's tested that on Mac Raspberry Pi 4 and a Pi Zero. So currently you can send erg to a wallet, send erg to a random wallet, send an NFT to a wallet, send an NFT to a random wallet, send an NFT. Create a token, create an NFT, have info from erg, the wallet info is displayed, and then a token info is displayed. So interesting little sort of concept on that one. And he's got his little picture there of the little Pi Zero with a little, looks like a 3D printed case. And then one update from ErgoTutorials, which is buy and sell an NFT on Sky Harbor. They've released a number of updates on ErgoTutorials of late. So if you want to sort of learn how to do something in the ecosystem, or you've got a couple of questions around how to perform a wallet transfer or open a wallet, things like that, then jump over onto ergotutorials.com and have a look.
Yeah, I would recommend that for every user that's new to our ecosystem. It's just an easy way to prevent user error. Have a guide.
Yep. Really good resource. And then we've got Ilya from Sigma Valley. First up with dappstep. Do you want to take that one?
Sure. Created a presentation. Looks like there's ErgoScript in Java that's going to, or JavaScript that's going to make progress, and it's basically allowing people to debug smart contracts. That's a pretty big tool that opens ErgoScript to a lot of developers that are going to be a lot more comfortable playing with that tool. Looks like he's created a transaction visualization tool. UTXO can get a little messy just on the base transaction, but then when you get into smart contracts, it's something that especially people that are moving from the account model and learning to play with UTXO could really benefit from kind of having that visual tool to break down how contracts work. Looks like it's pretty basic, but he's going to add some tips, tricks, best practices, and tutorials related to dApp development, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, there was a couple of comments on Twitter, I believe, about having this integrated into a wallet, having that visualization of a transaction. Yeah, good benefit for everyone, because trying to sort of, like you said, decipher the text on a transaction for someone coming from an account-based model to EUTXO could be a little bit sort of confusing at first.
Yeah, I think that would be a great tool for power users. It would probably confuse a lot of newer people that I don't know if that type of data would be helpful or overwhelming. I tend to lean towards overwhelming, but I would love to see a wallet support that as an optional feature that people could turn on. That way, it's there if you want it, and for people that would be overwhelmed, it'll just kind of be buried in the back end.
Wonder if there's a way to simplify it as well. You can just have one picture as, say, your output and then your input, and then being able to expand that to registers and whatnot as well, if you wanted to.
Yeah, there's a lot of room to grow there.
Yep. Then he's just got a little video description here for the ErgoJS debugger. Then moving on, we've got greenhat. So he's been playing with the oracles a little with Tim L. So they've finished and merged the bootstrap oracle pools command, finished and merged the extract reward token command, then refracted the pool command for the publishing of data points. So we've got the Git links there as well. Then he's moved on. Greenhat himself has fixed the JSON encoding for empty tokens in the Ergo box candidate. Property-based tests for the transaction hints in JS encoding. Got halfway through the typed Oracle config representation, and helped to set up the SON A type publishing for dbox fork for Sigma state. That's a bit of a tongue twister, that one.
Yeah.
And then it's just his plan to finish the transaction hints for JSON encoding, publish a new Sigma Rust release, and then after that he's going to take a dive into the Oracle Pool 2.0a update, which is a reward token stored in the pool box versus a refresh box. So there's a little bit happening there on the Oracle pools.
Yeah, that's been a kind of a major redesign. We're trying to take the original trust assumptions from version 1 and just create a layout that's a lot more performant, a lot less dusty, and makes more economic sense. And that's taken some time, but I'm quite excited to see that roll out once it's ready.
Yeah, it'd be good to see sort of people build on top of that as well and spin up a couple of Oracle pools once that's finalized and ready to go. So we have a submission here from Liquid Phase for swamp.audio. So it's his submission for the ErgoHack. So he's continuing to work on the front end, adding landing pages for the DAO and IDO. Made a flowchart for the YAML NFT use case. So that's an interesting one as well, for having utility NFTs. Then gaining some traction from outside of Ergo with their marketing efforts. So that's nice to see. and then just having a breather after ErgoHack. So must have been a full-on couple of weeks for him.
Yeah, I'm sure there was for a lot of teams. There was a lot delivered.
So moving on, we've got Dimitri, or Dead IT. Got a new graphics will be deployed for Sigmaverse. Little sneak peek there with our little Ergonaut. Looking nice and cute. So then just made a couple of updates on the website as well. So alongside the blog section, they've got a media about us section. So all our press releases and things will be posted up there. It'll be a nice little resource. He's fixed the CMS problems as it didn't deploy correctly. So should all be up and running now.
Oh, that new website's looking great.
Yeah, I'm proud to sort of send that one off to people, and it's a nice looking website. It's interactive, just has that eye candy feature and that modern look about it now. So it's a little bit more appealing, I'd say, to the masses.
I'd say a lot, but Ergo does have kind of functional roots, and functional programmers tend to not be famous for the greatest UIs, but it is what it is.
It'll work though.
It'll work.
So moving on, we've got ScalaHub. You want to take Scala?
Sure. So it looks like he's published a new compiler that he's been playing with. He reviewed the EIP 27 update, and his primary focus has been working on Dexy modification based on some feedback that he got from Alex.
I'll have to start diving into the Dexy a little bit more now that all this sort of documentation and action sort of taking place. I'd have to get my head around it all.
Yeah, it's starting to come together.
So Alex just has a comment for Satergo. So a nice little P2P layer implementation would be awesome. And then moving on, we've got Ilya from ErgoDex. So he's continuing his work with the Explorer. Reviewed PRs from Money David.
I just call him Money.
Money David.
I don't know if that's right or not, but I've always called him Money David.
It'd be forever known as Money David now. So the block streaming API has been added to the Explorer API v1, and then just finalizing the lightweight Explorer release. On the ErgoDex side now, they're reworking the Ergo data pipeline. Current implementation consumes too many resources. Optimizing execution bots for Cardano mainnet. So they've improved it from 10 to 15 minutes to 20 to 30 seconds. So that's a pretty significant improvement. On the front end side, they've released the price charts this week. So that's a nice little addition.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the general user is going to appreciate.
Yeah. So at the moment, it's a line chart, and they're just working on implementing the candlestick charts. Fixed up sorry, I've just lost my mouse. Fixed up a minor bug in the UI, which was revealed during the testnet. So little fixes to the charts, fixed content shift with the scrolling display. Fix the Cardano SDK order parser. So that's all working well now. Fixed a bug with the US and USD and ADA converter. And added new history UI UX, added Cardano UI UX history, and added SAFEW wallet integration. So it's nice to have another option there.
Yeah, they've been busy. I haven't seen Ilya come up for air in a while, to be honest. But things look like they're coming together nicely on the Cardano side. It's glad to see.
Yeah. I did a little bit of testing there on the testnet, and things were sort of halted a little bit there while they were fixing a fair bit up, but it's it seems to be running a lot smoother now.
No, that's what testnet is for. Put it in a sandbox environment and break it.
Yeah, exactly. Do your best to try and do so. The last thing you want to do is for that to occur on mainnet. Moving on, we've got update from hailypdll. So just in regards to the ErgoDex integration, so they've been working on the support there with Ilya. Also included the wallet React component, that's to come, sorry. And then the 0.6.3 version is available with improvements, soon to be available on the Chrome store after validation. Moving on, we've got LowKeyNerd. So they have, for BlitzTCG, they've completed the settings menu, debugged a couple of issues. You can now sign up and have a bit of a play. So if you want to do that, you've got the links down below for the Windows 64 build and then a Mac build. So if you find any bugs and issues, then by all means, let them know, and can possibly have a reward of some description, which will be decided, possibly a special debug NFT card.
Very nice.
So, yeah, following their Twitter, they've got some really nice artwork there. Moving on, we've got Captain Nemo. Take Nemo.
Sure. The Nemo and company have been working on a GraphQL build. Looks like they're almost ready to push that to production. They've got a few tweaks and things to iron out, but hopefully by the time this is up, that will be in its kind of V1 production. And it looks like they've done a lot of general code refactoring and improvement. They've added some complex query optimizations. They've added some mempool resolvers, improvements in the data layer, and they've added integration tests. So hopefully that comes out and dApps start picking it up and running their own instance of the Explorer, ultimately hardening the system.
Yeah, we touched on that last week as well, having that little bit of extra redundancy as well, having decentralizing the Explorer, not having that one central point where there can be bottlenecks and things. Tying up for, say, NFT releases and whatnot. So it'd be nice to see that get integrated. And we have to say a warm welcome to Milo, new developer by the looks of things, wanting to get involved with the ecosystem. So welcome, mate.
Yeah, it's great to see.
And moving on, we've got update now from Excel or ErgoLend. They're going through a little bit of a rebrand by the looks of things. So they've been working on the SLT proxy contracts, onboarded 2 lovely developers, and the marketing page is almost done. So it'd be nice to see all that sort of come to fruition. It's been a fair bit in the
nice
making.
Project to watch.
Yeah, definitely be following that one, and can't wait to start funding some requests. It'll be great.
Yeah, I definitely want to play with that.
Yeah. And finally, we've got MGPy with update from ErgoSapiens and ErgPy. So for ErgoSapiens, they're back at developing. They've got a major upgrade by implementing SQLite for their database. Everything else is much faster, which is good to see from their point of view. Working on some front-end wallet improvements, and then released a testnet version. So that's has compatibility with the Nautilus testnet. So I'm guessing that's integrated into the wallet itself.
Very nice.
Yep. ErgPy has a major update as well. So that has PEP 8 standard compliance, makefile automation, repository restructure, logging, and implementing tests. So thanks to Rafadini on GitHub. So all you have to do to use ErgPy is just run that little command there, pip install ErgPy. So that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Any final words?
Sure. Well, it was definitely a pleasure watching everybody work through the ErgoHack. I know that a lot of the teams were more quiet on the social side, but actually quite busy on the back end. I've kind of dove into some of the submissions, but being that there was 17, I'm still a little snowed in when it comes to digging my way through that. But I'm really looking forward to see what the community built. Definitely a lot of good ideas. It's always a pleasure to see people build in open source ways. That way, we get collaboration and ultimately things kind of go through their own process of evolution and then, adoption, and at some point kind of gets buried in the back end. But that kind of core foundational work really makes a difference long term.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you want to explore a little bit further, then we've got a summary of the week 3 for the ErgoHack of what the teams provided throughout the week. So that's up on the Ergo platform Twitter, but then also what we touched on earlier, the link on docs.ergoplatform.org as well, that of all the projects which are being compiled. So yeah, by all means, go and check those out for yourself.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching again, guys.
It was a pleasure being here. I'm always happy to talk with you, CW, and let the community know what's happening on the back end. Even though it's kind of quiet time, slow markets, there's certainly a lot happening under the surface that is there and something to be excited about. I certainly am. Yeah,
for sure. And I've seen a couple of questions in pop up in Telegram actually about what's Ergo's philosophy for building throughout a bear market. And I think regular updates like this provides confidence to the community as well. Just being transparent and showing what's being worked on and providing regular updates just to instill that confidence. So yeah, by all means, jump in each week and check us out.
Yep.
Thanks once again for watching. Take care, everyone. Have a good one.